all in your work?
Oh, I go down, I mean, with the commissioner, sometimes I do that, but I pretty much focus on town and then Larimer County.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we
I
have
know
a
people from the state.
we have a lobbyist. We just hired a lobbyist up at the state, a lobbyist at the state level. So you go up there, look out for Jennifer Castle. That's our gal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she'll tell you everything that we're standing for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's like music.
But yeah, it's good. And I'm assuming you're familiar with U+2 and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to make some negotiations right now. We have been passing a resolution, but you know, also trying to keep it so that you know the town stays nice like it is and keeps the character of it.
Well, that's hard to do.
It is.
That's what I do all the time is try to
Yeah.
balance
Yeah.
the locals and the tourists and the business people. And,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's a hefty balance for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a lot of.
So how are you funding?
How-
How are you funding your lobby?
Well, we're student fee funded, so did they do student fees back in your day?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have some, but not. I
Not
don't think
not a
we have
lot.
the Senate, or I just didn't know it
Okay.
because I was busy with other things.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. So we're just out of our general budget, a lot of it, and then some of it is from the Senate. So
Okay.
passed the bill, they allocated 10,000 for it, and then the rest came out of our executive.
Our
fund.
fees are paid for the football stadium when it was way out there, and we paid for it
Yeah.
for like, what, 30 or
Right.
50 years almost? Yeah, that's what our fees went
I
to.
can't imagine it being way out near Horsetooth. That was.
Well, you know, it made sense at the time,
Yeah.
and because I don't think they knew what they were gonna do with the campus.
Okay. Sure.
And Dr. Lori, I'm a cousin to Dr. Lori, who was the president here for years and years and years. So I kind of have a long history down there.
Well, huh. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Estes, right? Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
That's a cool place to grow up.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. Yes, and then I was gone for, till 1987, I came back and raised, I had 3 kids by then and sent them to school, and that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is. Did you do any rock climbing growing up in Estes?
A little bit. My
Okay.
dad said if you need a rope, you shouldn't be climbing it. So all of my kids rope climb, and
Okay.
actually I got a daughter that has a lifelong injury from rope climbing. So maybe my dad was right.
Maybe he was
Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah.
right.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I've been getting into that.
I'm
a
gonna
little
go
bit.
cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun, but definitely you gotta be careful.
Oh, well, you
Yeah,
have
how are
to
you?
know what you're
How you
doing.
doing?
And
Hey, I'm
she
gonna
had
keep up.
being belayed in
How are you?
Kentucky.
Okay,
She had a rope that got caught on a ledge, and so it pendulums her into the cliff, and she stuck her leg out to protect herself. She would have died, and so she shattered
Mm.
bones all the way up to here. So she's full of metal and lips, but she's back rock climbing
Oh,
again.
okay.
So
Well,
there you go.
Yeah,
There you
that's a cool
go.
story. That's a cool story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of scary stories of that. But let me introduce you to somebody else. Our Supreme Court Chief Justice. Okay. Yeah. No worries. This is Elaine. She's the Chief Justice. This is Wendy. Well,
He has my guess.
Right.
They just have some pictures.
You.
Someone was waiting for me.
Yeah.
I was told. I was invited to that. I was invited.
Well, waiting to expose you. That's what it was.
Let's turn it around.
Real.
You're right.
Maybe you should shop something else in your office.
It's a bit of an empty house today.
Yeah, there's an event going on.
Oh, at the same time.
It's a part of that. No one who works for that is a bartender. Yeah, they did. So move around. Some people are sick.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Sounds like folks representing from.
Alrighty. I'm calling to order, I think, the 9th session for the 53rd Senate. So we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All who are willing and able, please stand. Ready? I.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did say it. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This is also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous people as original stewards of this land and all their relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion. And significantly, that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university is built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Next, we have the swearing in of senators.
Google Calendar. Already have it.
Any new senators or associates today? That's moving on. Beginning roll call. Can the clerk call the roll? All right, all good. Senator Bakari. Chair Kelly. Senator Van Tassel. Senator Barrett. Senator Cole Johnson. Senator Winston. Senator Tabib.
Here.
Senator Eby. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Kirk.
Here.
Senator Hill. Senator Stoney. Senator Melchior.
Here.
Senator Schumer. Present. Senator Snyder.
Here.
Chair Taylor.
Here.
Senator McAllister Johnson. Here. Chair Trout.
Present.
Senator Davis. Here. Senator Frisky.
Here on Zoom.
Senator Reese. Associate Senator Rivera.
Present.
Associate Senator Salazar. Here. Associate Senator Camber. Present. Senator Lasser.
Here.
Associate Senator Alvarez. Here. Senator Buckner. Here. Associate Senator Ozor.
Here.
Associate Senator Leggett. Associate Senator Miller. Present. Associate Senator Myers.
Here.
Associate Senator Byrd.
Here.
Senator Huizenga. Here. Senator Brown.
Here.
Senator Vaughn.
Here.
And Senator Desmond.
Here.
Thank you.
Next, we have consent agenda. Is there any dissent to this agenda? Seeing none, we move to this. Nope. We move to gallery input. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to say something at this time? Seeing none, we move to guest speaker. Please invite Braxton and Mayor Wendy Keown up back here. Up here.
Well, good evening. It's really a pleasure to be here. It's probably been 50 years since I've been in Lori Student Center, so it certainly has changed a lot. I thought I'd start with just a brief history. It takes about 4 to 5 minutes. Not trying to bore you. It all coalesces in me being the mayor of Estes Park, and I thought it might be kind of fun to have you learn a little bit the strange path that I took to end up in politics. So I entered CSU in 1973. There was life back then as a Title IX scholarship athlete for track and field. Have you all heard of Title IX? Okay. Well, Title IX was very important to me. My family didn't have a lot of money, and I was the first class of Title IX students to go through CSU. And I had people from CSU come talk to me because when I was a senior in high school, I went to the Olympics in Munich, Germany, in the 800 meters track and field. So I had been competing internationally since I was 12 years old. Even though I'm from Estes Park, little old Estes Park, I know that the other athletes on the field, I get down to California to run, and I talked to them as we ran around the track, and they said, would you just shut up? We can't breathe down here that well. So they had me as a friend and a competitor for 16 years. I competed internationally. So CSU was interested in getting me on the track and field team. And after all the traveling I'd done around the world, I was interested in just staying in Colorado. So I came to CSU and I wanted to be an oceanographer. So they convinced me that civil engineering would do the trick for me because I could go to Woods Hole and get my master's in oceanography. They didn't listen to I don't do math very well. So after the first quarter, we had quarters back then. Do you still have quarters? No. Okay, well, we had quarters. So I went ahead and opened. We had it booked open because we didn't have computers, and there was audiology. It required one math course and a lot of science. And my dad wore hearing aids, and so did my grandmother. So I became an audiologist and stayed at CSU long enough to earn my master's degree. And I went to a second Olympics while I was here in Montreal. I was the second American to ever run, as far as female, under 2 minutes in the 800 meters. Now, what does this have to do with becoming part of government in a way? Well, I went away after graduating from CSU, came back 10 years later, opened my audiology practice, and decided it was time to give back to everyone in Estes Park that had sold mops on Lions Club, had fundraisers for me, because they spent 4 years sending me around the world because we didn't have the money to pay for that. And so I liked being my own boss. I still do. I've been beneath being mayor, but I still like being my own boss because I could set my schedule the way I wanted. So one thing in government is think about what your value systems are. You know, do you want to have other people dictating to you what you do in government? Do you want to be on staff? Is that something that you really like and enjoy? Are you good at organization? Or do you want to move into other areas? So I spent 10 years on the hospital board while I ran my practice. And then I went to the senior center board and worked with people that I had taken care of for hearing aids. And at the end of 30 years, most of the people in town knew me because they'd known me when I ran, and they knew me as their audiologist and their friend. So when it came time for me to do more for the community, I ran for the town board as a trustee. And I spent 8 years doing that. And what I learned as a trustee was that we really, as a public servant, the word servant belongs in there because we want to send the information back to the group that's making the decisions. And so that's what I did. And now as mayor, I write a column each week in the paper that tells people what's going on and what I've been doing. They've never had a mayor do that. And they're shocked and amazed because they feel like they know me personally through those columns. Some of them, I show a picture of my grandchild who's 5. He's really, really cute. He's good to put in for advertising. And I tell important things in town, and I just tell my feelings. Oh, I don't know, it's beautiful fall. Fall's my favorite time of year. And hey, there's been this going on. We've had, 20,000 people in town at Bond Park for the beer fest. And so I kind of keep people abreast by that. Now, that's not a normal thing for a politician to do, but I've told them over the years, well, I'm not a politician. I'm a citizen of Estes who is your voice. And so that's something that with all the places I've gone around the world, all the people I've met, and I was on the Olympic Committee for the United States in 1980 when we didn't go to the Olympics. I was in Washington, D.C. As a voice to tell them why we should go. And to this day, we should have gone because at that time in Russia, the locals, I've been to Russia 5 times, didn't have the opportunity to see the news or hear the news. They were told what they could see. There was one channel, and they wouldn't know why we had boycotted the 1980 Olympics because there wasn't going to be anybody standing on the podium and telling them on international television. So it's been a career that's taken me from government and track and field and international athletics to government in a very small town. And it's been delightful. So that's like my 5 or 6 minute intro. And I need some questions because I can tell you lots about being mayor, but I don't know what you're interested in as far as that goes. And I don't think I'm too scary. So if you have a question, please ask. You're smiling up there. Does anybody have a question for me? Otherwise, I'll tell you what a mayor does. Oh man, okay. Well, I'll tell you what a mayor does. All righty, so being on a town board, there's different types of boards for communities. Some are home rule, and that means the board decides how long the terms are, how many people make up a board, and they can do pretty much what they want. Estes Park is a statutory town. Do you all know what statutory is? We follow the rules for the state of Colorado. Now, one of the reasons we follow those rules is we get certain perks from the state in the form of money so that we can maintain Estes Park. And our job is to balance, as a trustee, the needs of the citizens, the needs of the tourists that come to now, and also the needs of the animal life. Because Estes Park now, they're still in the rut. You can go up and listen to them screaming. The elk, it's kind of fun, but we have probably 1,600 elk wandering the streets and the side roads of Estes Park. So we have to do things that maintain the quality of life for a wide variety of living creatures in Estes Park. And that's kind of what the board does. We have a policy manual that tells us what we can and cannot do. And one of the challenges in becoming a mayor or becoming a trustee is quite often you feel like you're the best person there and you start bossing people around. So the job of all trustees in a statutory town is to set policy. So we listen to the citizens, we suggest policy, the staff are the ones who work very hard to bring the information to us so that as trustees, we can make a good decision for the town. We have 2 employees, one is the town attorney and one is the town administrator. So I don't boss the staff around. I can boss the town administrator, but it makes, when everybody plays their roles properly, and as well as in my business as an audiologist, you learn to let the people do what they've learned how to do and quit trying to manage them, but give them the task. And it's amazing what people bring back. And I've worked very hard since I've been mayor. This is my fourth year. We had a mayor previously that was pretty bossy and domineering, and everybody walked around pretty sad. So the first thing I do is try to get people to laugh and wave at my office when they went by. So we've got that accomplished, and it's been amazing, all the projects that's come out of people feeling good about themselves and feeling appreciated. So I think the job of the mayor in our community is to build people up and pump them up. And that's what I try to do. And then they work hard for our community. And that's really what a mayor does. Do you have any questions at all? Oh, a question. Yes.
So there's 2 of you who have a question at the moment. Mayor, which one will you ask?
Oh, well, I can't read the sign back there because Sammy's fine, and then Lauren. Lauren, you were first. That's the first hand I saw. But Sammy, you were a little slow on the tape. There we go.
So you talked about like letting everyone kind of just do their thing. How do you decide what tasks to delegate to others and what to take on yourself?
Well, what's really good is we take on policy. So it's finding out information about policy. And then a lot of time our task is to work with the citizens so they understand the policy and answer their questions about the policy. So for instance, we have Stanley Park in Estes. Well, in Estes, they're a separate taxing district. The hospital's a separate taxing district. The school district is. So I'll get calls, oh, there's no toilet paper at Stanley Park in the bathrooms. And I say, well, I'll call the rec district because they're a separate taxing industry. And that's what they take care of. So I think one of the jobs that I have is to connect people to the right spot in Estes Park. And in some towns, the mayor is in charge of delegating all authority. In Estes Park, I go and talk to Travis, who is the town administrator, and he carries a message to staff, or he says, well, this person will be working on this. So they have a leadership committee and council, and Travis runs it. And together the department heads decide who's going to do what. So, and I'm allowed to go in and talk to them and ask questions, but I don't give directions. I want it done this way. You don't do that. So, yes.
So whenever, like, when folks apply for things or like that, there's always something about the job that is like most surprising. So I guess what is the most surprising aspect or something you didn't anticipate would happen or like would be a part of your job when you decide to become mayor?
Well, today I took a phone call. I hope it wasn't from any of you, from a crazy person, and I listened for 18 minutes. And I was surprised that they called me and I couldn't get through to them. So I took the information to the police department just to be sure they didn't show up and upset that I finally hung up the phone because I couldn't get the information out of them. I think probably my surprising things came the first time I was on the town board because I was totally new. And I think it's the passion. I mean, I knew people had passion, but for zoning, because you work your life, you buy a house, you plan on it staying the same. And in Estes Park, it's the view corridor. That is a hot topic because what if they build that 2 or 3 story apartment complex in the lot next to you and you knew you were zoned for E1 estate and it should be 1 acre lots, and they've decided there's been a change that requires a change and allowing different people to live in different type of housing. So I think the passion around that, because I tend to like people, and so I know I can go up into the park that, I've told people there's 285,000 acres. So if your 1 acre view corridor changes, you do have other places to go in Estes. But I think it's the passion and learning how to deal with the passion of people. And sometimes, you've got a split in the community and you end up trying to do something for the greater good. And that can be real hard because there seems to always be losers, when you do the greater good. And that's hard. That's a hard place to be. Thank you for your question. And thank you for yours, Lauren. Yes.
What else do you do to build people up?
What else do I do to build people up? Well, I walk around town hall and say, good morning, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you? Or if the guy's carrying out the trash, I'm a weird mayor because I'll pick up a bag and help him get it out. So I try to be a partner as opposed to somebody that's scary. And I try to meet people with a smile and get to know them a little bit. And it's amazing. They'll come by my door now and stop and talk. And I'm a part-time mayor. What do you think I make as mayor of Estes Park? Come on. I make $12,000 a year. And so I'm actually giving back to the community in Estes Park. And as a trustee, I made $8,000 a year. But I had my own business, and the best part is, along with that $8,000 a year or $12,000 comes your health insurance. So I spent 8 years as a trustee before I came mayor, and most of that time I was also an audiologist, had 3 kids, so I got $80,000 worth of health insurance over the years. So sometimes if you have a passion for something, you can do it, but you have to think about ways to make ends meet. And so for me, it was also a way to make ends meet. Do you have another question? Yes.
Oftentimes, we as student leaders find ourselves divided in this space, even in the city level here in Fort Collins. What kind of ways do you find yourself resolving large conflict or bridging gaps in spaces like this?
Well, we have a policy manual, and in that manual, what happens at the town board stays at the town board. So if you're not speaking when you walk out of the room, but you see them in the hallway, you have to talk to them. And so we've made that a special safe space so people could do their jobs and express their attitudes and their feelings about things. And then if somebody's running around town and they have a different opinion than the group, because remember, we function as a group. So if they still don't like what's going on, they have to say, well, in my personal opinion. So they can still talk about it and express it. But I also get people laughing at the town board meeting. And I know that seems silly because it should be very serious. But you get people laughing a little bit, the atmosphere calms down, and I think people think better if they're relaxed and feel they're in a safe place and can express their viewpoints. So that's kind of what I do, but we actually have a policy manual where we have that outlined, that, you know, you can disagree politely at the town board meeting, but it stays at the town board. So, and it works pretty well. Anyone else? Yes, Braxton.
Yeah, so you mentioned staying connected to the folks that you serve. As a student government, we're tasked with serving 33,000 students.
Mhm.
How do you recommend staying connected and staying personable and staying as a friendly face, and being able to listen to what everybody wants to see while also being able to put that into actionable programs and steps?
Well, you're living in a wonderful age of technology, and you could do something on Facebook, or you could set up your own account. It's amazing how people react to like getting a note, and I personalize it, you know, to the people of Estes Park. And you could personalize it for the students or a category that you're working on, something for a group of people. But I think it's more than expecting them to walk in here and listen to you. At the town board, they don't come in and say too much, just like we have the same agenda. So there's the consent agenda, and then there any non-agenda item that someone would like to speak about, right? And sometimes people come in, but it's scary for them to talk to the whole group. And so giving them added avenues to meet with you, or setting up our trustees every 2 weeks, we have a 2-hour meeting with just 2 of the trustees, because we can't have more than 2 of us together or it's officially a meeting. And the public's welcome to attend. So you get a different group of people, and we separate it from an evening meeting or an afternoon meeting, so people with different schedules can possibly come. And staff is with us, usually the town administrator. And if we pick a topic like streets, then Greg Mahonen, the director, sits in there, so they can give the technical information, which also fortifies the trust from the town members in the staff that we have. And then we give the information on how it would happen in a town board meeting and what to expect. And so that seems to work really well. So set up a time where you can meet with people. And I don't know if you have the no more than two person rule, but we do. So, and sitting around and having a cup of coffee or a beer someplace with a group is kind of a nice thing to do because it's informal. So there's time for being formal and a time for being informal. And mix that in with the things you do, and you'll find you get a variety of people listening to you. Okay, anyone else? Well, oh yes.
Any advice for women or student parents navigating policy while trying to raise a family?
Well, I did that, and I think having some good friends that can come in, or again, for me, it was using individuals in the community to come in and help watch my kids while I ran off to a meeting. That worked. I also came home and talked to my kids about what I was doing. And they all competed in sports. I had them be swimmers instead of a runner because otherwise they have to live under my cloud. You know, nobody wants to live under that cloud. So they were all swimmers. And the other thing I did was participate in their lives. I made sure I got them to meets and I got them to various things. So we were all kind of a group that did things together. And I think that's real important when you're navigating that. And the other thing that allowed me to do it was I was self-employed. So I always agreed with my boss. If I needed a few minutes off to go to a meeting, I said, hey, I guess, my secretary, I need you to cancel these 3 people and reschedule them. So I was able to create that balance. If you're working for someone else, when you take the job, make sure they understand that you have other things that you're doing, that you would like to have some time off and figure out personal leave or something for that. But it's a good question. I've had a very full life, and I think that's why I consider myself not a politician. I just consider myself another person in my community, and that other people can talk to, and I can try to get things to happen. And I think that's an important way to do it. So small towns help a little bit too, though. You know, you have a better group of supporters around you, I think. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks for having me down. It's nice to see all of you.
Thank you for coming to speak with us.
Yes, it was fun.
Have a good evening. Have a good evening. Next, I think we have executive reports. So anyone from executive who wishes to report at this time?
Sorry. Hi. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Joseph Godshaw, and I'm serving as the Director of International Affairs. I just wanted to come up here and give a formal introduction and tell you how you can reach me and a little bit about what I do. I'm just here to elevate the voices of the international students at CSU. I was once an international student myself, so I understand that can be pretty hard to get acclimated to a different environment. I'm just really looking forward to working with all of you. My email is ASCSU_international affairs at Colorado State. If you have any questions, concerns, or you're looking to collab with anything, I would love to. I'm just really trying to bring the whole international vibe thing to the rest of the campus. Yeah, thanks, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Woo.
Is there anyone from executive who would like to report at this time? Seeing that we use judicial reports from the judicial branch, would you like to report?
I feel like Braxton might have something to say if he comes back, but I think yeah, there he is. But my only things is we got 2 wonderful people to ratify tonight. So looking forward to that.
We'll move to legislative cabinet. We can go back to the direction. Like to say anything. Anyone from legislative cabinet have some reports? I can give my small little one.
Just a quick reminder for anyone who didn't attend DEI training, make sure you go to one SCPS event and then just email Ava and I with which event you did and like just like a quick list of questions, and then we'll count that for yours.
One moment, I'm getting something from my director of traditions.
I don't think I have many things to report. I will be having a chem test next week. Yay! So I will be here at the beginning, and I will probably be leaving by guest presentation. So, yes, how much fun.
Perfect. I appreciate y'all's patience. And thank you for the good questions to Mayor Koenig. I think it's very refreshing to see someone who's not a career politician and just genuinely here for the people. And I think everybody would agree with that. I want to introduce myself. I think everybody here knows who I am. So the first thing I'll touch on tonight is the ASCSU Invites event coming up next Thursday, not tomorrow, but the following Thursday. Love to see you all there. A chance for RSOs to connect with ASCSU members. Likely we will be doing Rocky Mountain Student Media Corporation the following month, but that's still in the planning stages at the moment. So there's the QR code. You can scan that. If you'd like, I'll also pass around some quarter page flyers. Then Parliamentarian Doyle, if you'll pull up the other. Perfect. And the other thing I'll report on tonight is Community Roundtable that is coming up on this next Monday. So the soonest Monday, we're going to have 27 elected officials or appointed officials there. Several members of the Joint Budget Committee who largely control the cost of higher education here at CSU and universities like ours, and many other very important folks in state, local, county government. So I'd highly encourage you to attend. A great way to make connections, a great way to score internships as well. I'll pass around a quarter page flyer for that as well. And I believe the Vice President and the Director of Traditions wanted a report as well, but they did not text me in time. So that will go into the Slack. And with that, have a very nice night, y'all.
Everyone. One last thing, I sat in on a meeting in a sense that RAs on this campus had with some higher officials up in housing and had with our Vice President of Student Affairs and Executive Vice President. So if you don't know who those people are, that is Blanche Hughes, our Vice President of Student Affairs, and Right? No, I'm lying. Oh my God, Rick Miranda. There it is. Wow, I forgot his name. And Rick Miranda, our executive vice president. I sat in on a meeting because RAs are very frustrated at the moment because of financial aid and some of the things that financial aid has done to them this semester. So I had planned to work with some of the RAs and getting a kind of an official letter drafted and written out to send to the individuals that spoke with them yesterday, as well as possibly present a resolution to us, kind of saying we stand with the RAs of the campus and some of the things they plan to move forward with. If y'all would like more information, I definitely have a bunch. I definitely wrote a bunch of notes. There's also some other people in this room that could touch on that as well. That's finished for my report. Is there anything else that legislative cabinet would like to report? But next we have committee abstracts. Chair Track.
Super slay. Next Monday, we will briefly be meeting in the conference room, primarily because the caucus is going to spend our caucus time to scope out one of the buildings that's on our group list. As of the group me vote, it seems that we're doing Canvas Stadium on Monday. So folks are interested in that. Transportation can be provided for folks if needed. Also briefly, since I have y'all's attention, wanted to go over the accessibility guidelines for ASCSU. I know folks have had questions about that. Know that there will be a further in-depth training at some point soon. But essentially, if folks want to know more about the accessibility guidelines for ASCSU, they can be found under section 106, diversity and inclusion in our Constitution. I know there have been questions regarding the 48-hour rule. Well, that's not send the ADA or anything like that. But section 504, the Rehabilitation Act, that's the act I'm looking for, says that if you are working for somewhere or for someone, that reasonable accommodations must be granted to you. And that 48-hour rule is that accommodation that has been granted on behalf of the Student Disability Center. So I can give more in-depth explanation for those. I don't want to take up too much time. But if folks have questions about that, please feel free to let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. So that I yield.
Thank you. Excellent.
I have a further report from the Director of Traditions. I appreciate this. Sorry for taking up your time. So there's a Rams Horn Cowboys versus Aliens themed dinner tomorrow night from 5 to 8 p.m. ASCSU members can get in for free at no cost. By just saying you're with ASCSU. So dress up in your favorite alien or cowboy/girl costume and get a free dinner. So that's awesome. In order to make this possible, we need 3 more volunteers to help from 1:45 to 3 and 3 more for teardown at 8 p.m. So she wants to know if anybody can volunteer. Volunteers will be putting up alien and Western decorations and will help remove them at the end of the night. And please reach out to her if you have any questions. So can I get a show of hands for anybody who would love to volunteer, who loves cowboys/girls and aliens? Woo! All right, email ASCSU_director_traditions if you would like to volunteer. Going once, going twice, no hands. Okay, email her because I know y'all are dying to. Thank y'all.
This is just a night of going back to reports. I have 2 more things to say. So there's an SDPS event happening this Friday. It is an open mic night that the back office is hosting at the Cultural Enrichment Center from 4 to 6. Transportation is provided if you need it. And you can sign up. You can just do something fun, or you can just sit there and enjoy it. I think there's food provided as well. I think there's. But past that, there's also a skate night happening this Friday, a Halloween themed skate night at the Epic Center, the Arena Center. You can wear your costumes and skate and ice skate, which is so much fun. Past that, any other committee chairs that would like to report this week? Chair Christie.
Okay, hi. I'm sorry. I'm super sick right now, so I hope you guys can understand me. I did not meet with the Women's Caucus this week, unfortunately, because I was sick. So we'll be meeting next week. Also, just while I'm unmuted, the WJC has a bunch of events going on. I'm not gonna talk a lot about them because I've already talked about them, but they're all on the WJC Instagram, which is CSU_WJC. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other chairs who wishes to refer? Chair Taylor.
This week, Internal Affairs had the Senate job descriptions bill, and we made no edits to that. So if anybody wants to make edits to bills, come to committees. Thank you.
Any other chairs who wish to speak at this time? Senator and Associate Senator reports. Anyone else who would like to report? Senator Burke.
Hey, people, it's me again. I have talked consistently in Senator, Associate Senator reports about the events we have going on this month with pride. And I'm gonna do it again. It's happening another, yeah. Woo! Yippee. I love these events, they're all very cool. I'm gonna just list out the rest of them for this month because there's not a lot left. It won't be too long. Today we had 2 events. One is currently going on, our Legacy of Leaders celebration, which is celebrating 25 years of the Pride Resource Center existing. Though it's gone by many names, it has been around for 25-ish years, with its anniversary being in August. We've got everyone together, a lot of the past leadership and a lot of just general people together to talk about what it's like, you know, leading in queer spaces. Very cool panel that's happening right now. I popped by earlier, it was really great. Yeah, on Tuesday, October 24th, we have another 25 years of Pride celebration we're doing. We're going to be honoring our past and looking towards the future of queer thriving. Very good name. That's going to be 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the LSC. Registration for that is required, so if you'd like to attend, I believe there is a form you can fill out on our website, which allows you to get to those events. Very fun and cool and fun. On Wednesday, October 25th, we have We're Queer, a roundtable discussion about LGBTQIA+ events. It's an employee network That is also registration required. There's another event on Tuesday. My eyes skipped over the paper. On Tuesday, October 24th, again, there is Queer Connections, Asexual Awareness. So it's more information about, what that identity means to people and what it means for others and being aware and being a good ally. So that one's open to all. You don't need to reserve that. That's from 4 to 5 p.m. in LSC room 304, open to all. We have another event next Wednesday. It's a trans policy panel on politics, transgender rights, and democratic health. Very important in our current landscape. That is running from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. in the LSC theater. So you can go to it and then still go to Senate. I'll be going to both. But yeah. And then we have on Friday, October 27th, Fair Coffee. That is for faculty, staff, and grad students, though. So if you're not one of those, you can't go. But if you can, love to have you. That's the rest of our events for this Queer History Month. We are really happy for the people who did turn out to some of our other events. Really great to see everyone going to things. And we hope you guys can make it to our last couple of events to help us rein in this lovely month together. Yippee. Thank you for your time. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next we have Chair Trout.
Cool. Hi, y'all again. Off Campus Life will be hosting a couple of roommate meet and matches throughout the end of October and into the beginning of November. I'll leave the dates in the Slack because there's a lot of them, and I'm leaving that in there now in the intro branch. So go check those out. I'll also be sending out information to the ASCSU front desk, but they will be in collaboration with other offices such as Pride, BAC, and the Graduation Student Council. There will also be a general session for folks who are not within those identities. These events are set to be an hour, meant mostly for folks to chat and exchange information if they're comfortable, to meet new roommates, since that is becoming super relevant for a lot of folks who live on campus and for folks who are just sick and tired of the current roommates they have. I will be co-facilitating the Pride session. So if you have any questions just about the sessions in general or any question about that particular session, please don't hesitate to say hi. And then Ramride codes are posted on Instagram. So if you're looking to go out, do that. And then party registration. If you are wanting to host a party and don't want to get $1,000 plus citation from law enforcement on like Halloween, because they come out in force that night, go to the Off Campus Life office. That's in 281 in the LSC. You'll do just a quick, we'll give you a quick spiel, how to be a good party noodle. It's pretty cool. And then you get warnings if somebody calls and complains, instead of just law enforcement showing up ruining the vibe. So if you have any questions about anything OCL, Ramride, or just anything in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Schumer. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to do a quick event update. So we had the chili tailgate cook-off, which I have a former placer here. His chili was really good, beat mine. So that was on Saturday, and then some upcoming events. We have a Rocky Mountain National Park hike that's coming up on Saturday, October 21st, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we also have a fall cleanup that's going on. That's going to be a little bit later in November 4th. So you can sign up on the link tree on the Adult Learner and Veteran Service Instagram. We are also still doing the cans around the oval. So keep collecting cans for Rams Against Hunger. And then we will be pushing our Veterans Week event schedule here in a couple of weeks, just so everybody can be aware of what's going on. We have some really fun events that the adults are holding, and we would love if you would join us. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Senator Bakari.
Hi all, just some events in APAC that have been going on. We just had another Try to Understand. It's every Wednesday. It's where we have a guided discussion presentation on a topic of interest to the PETA Swana community. We had spooky stories of like Asian PETA culture today, and it was a lot of fun. Additionally, for upcoming events, we have Adopted Connections tomorrow in APAC from 5 to 6 to come and be community with fellow adoptees. Snacks will be provided. In November, we have a big event called Breakthrough Burnout. It'll be on November 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. It's a self-care day for the community. We'll have like a rage room, painting, yoga, and much more. So please come. There is a sign-up deadline by November 3rd. The event is on the 9th. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Is there any other senators or associates? Associate member.
Okay, y'all. So the School of Social Work is doing a fall leadership social work speaker series, and we've invited Kim Jordan, who's the co-founder of New Belgium, and a member of the CSU Board of Governors to join us. It's Friday, October 27th from 11:30 to 12, and there's be a Q&A afterwards. It's going to be a really incredible opportunity to kind of learn about how social work values have informed like a progressive business approach. It's kind of a side of social work you don't really see very often, and how that influences the community, especially the community and the culture here in Fort Collins. So I will send something out so that you guys can attend that or see the information outside of me saying it right now. Thank you.
Senator Wilson.
Just so you guys know, the Center of the Arts is putting on 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It's a really funny musical. It's kind of raunchy. It is very much PG-13, almost R at times. But it's really, really good. You guys should go see it. It's free for CSU students. You'll buy time.
Any other senators or associates who wish to refer at this time? Seeing none, we move on to consent business. We have parliamentarian put 2 hours on the conference clock. Conference business there is. We start off with the ratification of elections manager. So I'll ask Elena, Chief Justice Trexall, and her choice to come down.
Hi, so this is Caitlin Spencer. I'm really excited for all of you to meet her. I wrote like an introduction. It's not as long as one I did a while ago. So Caitlin is very involved on campus. She is an admissions master, the president of the Model UN Club. She's in the International Studies Club, French Club, Snow Riders, Gaia Club, some bug club. And she was also a liaison on the elections committee. So she's been around. I feel like she's probably in more things. But anyways, with her experience on the elections committee, she is well versed in the elections code. She's been through it. She knows how to do it. And I have complete confidence in her abilities. She is super confident in herself, which makes me confident. And yeah, I'll leave the rest to her. Hi guys, it's been a minute since I've done ratification before, so I assume waiting for questions.
We'll start with questions with the first race placard. Trisha.
Hello, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great.
Good. You've been here last year, so it's very similar questions to what I asked last year. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
It's always been part of my principle that each and every single person has a value in their voice. And so a part of what I'm trying to do, especially this year with the elections committee, is try to open up that voice to even more students, especially when it comes to those within the DEI practice. So making sure that each and every single type of student that's on this campus has a voice going into the elections is really important to me, because that's best upheld in places like actual meetings and stuff like this. So.
How are you going to recognize your inherent bias?
Everybody has inherent biases. The best way to, go about them is to first acknowledge that they exist, then break down the structures about how you can go about your life in order to change the biases that you have in your mind.
How do you plan to balance school, ASCSU, and outside work, if that's possible?
I have a planner, and I plan everything out by the hour. Mm-hmm. Yep, and I check off everything that I do, and it's lots of to-do lists and lots of planning.
How do you plan to help candidates ensure that they're running accessible campaigns?
Well, a lot of the accessible campaign materials is already available for many candidates, so they should already be aware of that. If not, they will be made aware of that during training. There will be extra processes throughout the actual, elections process of that 2-week period during campaigning, in which they will be being checked for all of those accessibility markers, and we need to ensure that those are being met.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank
answering my
you.
questions. Ayoka.
We have Associate Camper.
I wasn't here for last year's election, but I heard there was a lot of nastiness. I just want to know how you plan to hold everyone accountable to the standards that are set so that we don't have any kind of debacle like there have been in years past.
It's a really good question. I would say that it's my expectation. I know that we did a training last year for all the candidates. It's my expectation going into the training this year that will be happening, next semester, about like how to be nice to other people. I think that that's really important, especially since we struggled a lot with that last semester and last election cycle. So not only just how to be that kind to people, but also how to use your campaigning voice in a respectful manner when it comes to your other constituents.
And then what happens when people do violate election codes?
Well, actually, it's in our elections code, and it will be updated again this year as usual, and then uploaded to the ASCSU website. But in the elections code, there is a actual flow chart of sorts. If you read through the whole thing, where they're like, oh, if it's this type of violation, then you'll be fined this amount. If it's this type of violation, this amount, and then it also goes based off of a 3-point rule. I can go into more detail about that once I actually start doing all the briefings and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Wilson.
You mentioned that you wanted to outreach to a lot more students this year, considering in years past, a lot of our student outreach has been very low with elections. What do you plan to change this year to mitigate that?
Well, already I believe that social media is the best way to reach students. Not only does the ASCSU social media reach quite a bit of students, but so does the Colorado State University Instagram page. So I actually was hoping to, at some point or another, do a sort of CSU Instagram takeover. We'll see how that goes. But then another really one of my main goals is to reach out to the STPS offices in specific. In each and every single one of those STPS offices, that's where the majority of students' voices that are not being heard are. And so reaching out to those offices specifically and saying, hey, we need you guys to be, actively, participating and advocating for, voting and stuff like that, and getting those students' voices heard, and potentially even looking into other options when it comes to other types of campus partners. I know ALVS, they are able to vote, and a lot of the times they are not actively doing that because they're not made aware that they can, or other types of, non-traditional students aren't as well versed in those types of opportunities that, our typical freshmen on campus living experiences are. And so I think that reaching out to non-traditional students in those types of on-campus partners is going to be the main marketing force for this elections round.
Thank you so much. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Chair Kelly.
Anyone else on the speakers?
There's a motion to
Motion to exhaust.
So I'll explain real quick. Exhausting speakers list. I don't know if you've heard over it. Just means no one else's name can be added onto the speakers list after this motion were to pass. Unless you ask now, hey, can I just be quickly put on the speakers list? And if Graham would like to, or Chair Kelly would like to amend his motion, he could. But all in favor of exhausting speakers list, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Next, I really want you to say your last name so I can get him to Huizinga. Yeah, Senator Huizinga.
I was wondering, what is your projected participation percentage?
So last year we were roughly around 13%. I'm hoping to up that percentage by at least 5. We've had a steady growth over the last couple of years when it comes to voting participation, but I'm sure, as a couple of you guys are aware, when it came to Rob Long's election process, that number dipped a little bit. So hopefully seeing that gain back this election cycle, which I'm really hoping we saw this last year, but the more competition that's in an election cycle, the much more participation that we have. So I'm hoping that that will really help us grow those numbers. Thank you.
And with that, we move on to a period of discussion and debate. So I'm going to ask you to step outside for me. And we'll start discussion and debate with the first chair's topic. Chair Trout.
Super slick. I have absolute confidence within this candidate to run the elections committee, etc. I know a big thing last year that I had concerns about, not only as a candidate, but also as a student, was the accessibility guidelines, and a lot of folks didn't know those accessibility guidelines, and a lot of folks got penalized because they didn't know those right away. Seeing that is a top priority for this candidate, as well as outreaching to folks with marginalized identities, that being at the beginning, I have nothing but confidence in this candidate and her ability to run a free and fair election. So I encourage and I vote and I yield back.
Is there anyone else who wish? Senator Johnson.
I work with her in admissions, and she is one of the most personal people I've ever met in my entire life. And I know we're supposed to like based off of only what she says, but like I think a whole part of elections is somebody that you're able to talk to and feel comfortable with. And she has every single conversation I've had with her has made me feel like I am super comfortable. And so I think that is something that we should really look for in elections. And so I urge you to say yes. And I yield my time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wish to contribute? Seeing none, we're going to move on to a period of voting. Chair Trout.
I motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? If anyone wants me to explain it, please just let me know. Seeing none, this candidate is ratified with unanimous consent.
I state your name.
I, Caitlin Spencer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess at the moment. There are some business I have to take care of. Chair Trout.
I'd like to make a motion to have a 5-minute recess.
I second.
Is there any dissent to having a 5-minute recess? Seeing none, we should take a 5-minute recess and we'll regroup back around 7:38.
Figured out because that's my same thought.
Unfortunately, not everyone was there, but I started off really good. So the leader of the call council was like, yeah, send it to me, and I'll send out the next 3 emails to everyone. So, yeah. So, both of them.
Yeah, it'd be a bill.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were done with that, so.
I'm done with this is. And formatted.
Yeah, formatted. I'll email you the proper.
Yeah.
Because it's more about.
You are so fantastic.
Well, in my opinion, I
that thing that Microsoft is. I'm not, never called it.
Did you get the haircut? Did you get it from the
I'm very much.
You can go ahead and count.
You are so good. I know that.
Hold on.
That is disgusting. I'm essentially a conservative. I'm like, when I like to describe my views is like, like a free radio.
Yeah, so pretty much.
You know, like.
Personally, the government should have a way for sometimes you need stuff out, but other times you need it. It's like a weight.
Like, don't be there for me, like, you're my God. But don't be coming here.
I unfortunately am going to have to do this.
What's going on?
That's why I
I
like,
will let you know.
that's why it's just like.
Okay.
You know what the. It's, because I don't know. It means I feel like I don't, I could not believe words. Like, I don't think any words are possible. I believe that we cannot. We get the people who talk about the ability to join the advisory board for the library. I am. Right. Are those still open? Yeah. I have a friend who's very interested in joining them. Awesome. What's your email? AINCIL.
There is always a chair between us.
Here, I'm just gonna give you. Some guys. I can write that right down. Thank you very much. For sure. Are you the senator? I'm a senator. Yeah.
Could the agenda be zoomed in a little so it's more readable? I don't know why, but I got the ASCSU email with all the stuff in the email, but none of the attachments. And then I got the follow-up email with Braxton's.
I'll be honest, I just forgot to zoom in. Normally I do, but I just forgot
Okay,
today.
and then I'm like, I was looking for it in my email and I couldn't find it. And then I couldn't read it from there, but I'm also really
I
blind.
have that same issue with the email. You basically have to try scrolling down to the bottom and you'll find the other weekly email because for some reason it like overlays it on top.
Okay. Yeah, because I could see the emails themselves and the attachments for the second one, but not the attachments for the first one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the?
Does it come in late? Do you have them now or do you just?
I have the email itself with all the content in the email. There's just none of the attachments. It's really weird.
Because I know sometimes they come in late because Outlook likes to scan all the documents first before they like appear in your inbox.
Oh, okay.
So if you want
It could
to
be
check
your
mail,
user error. I will go back over it, but I couldn't read it from there, so I just wanted to say without interrupting everything while we're
if you want to
on a
check
recess.
now, I will check down. If it's still like that, then we can
Work out there.
Okay.
Hey, you as well. You're only started.
Excited to see where it goes. We'll see how it goes. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, yeah. Talk to Senator Davis. She has the time.
You know how many
right there.
Understand.
We're being really generous with the numbers that we got.
I bet you it's because
Yes, so
So like, yeah.
I have the amount that I have.
Are we thinking I'm gonna have to go and call for a non-germane?
Alrighty, let's read through. Next, we have the ratification of associate justice.
Quick introduction. This is Briary. So she is pretty awesome too. She's very involved inside and outside of CSU. She loves theater, debate, and taekwondo. It's pretty sick. She's also a tour guide for the Stanley Hotel. So we've got two Estes connections today. That's pretty exciting. But she doesn't believe in ghosts. So is she gonna be a problem? I don't know. We'll see. Just kidding. She's gonna be great. So she has experience in leadership because she's been in a leadership position for her sorority for quite some time. And when she was talking about her sorority, she made it clear that while there's a stigma for like FSL and stuff, which, you know, kind of similar to our organization, every club has their own stigmas. She has encouraged more diversity and inclusion in her sorority, and she stayed because she has faith in what her sorority can become. And I think that kind of energy is the exact energy we need here. In terms of knowledge and experience on the judicial side, she has experience on the Joint Judicial Board, so she knows the ins and outs of like conflict resolution and mediation. So she's what's up. She's gonna be great. And I can't wait for you guys to get to know her. You all. I'm so sorry. Right.
Thank you so much, Elena. Yeah, this is my first time doing anything like this, so sorry if I get really nervous. Alrighty, we'll open the floor with some questions, starting with the first raised placard, Chair Trout.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what Elena just said and kind of similar to what Caitlin said for her response. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important. I think it's a very honestly new issue that people have been upholding in universities and stuff like that. And I think it's really important that we really emphasize it a lot. In my sorority in particular, other clubs that I've been a part of, I have I guess just put together multiple types of things, lots of activities just to raise awareness for all different types of groups and issues that people have to deal with that kind of sometimes are unheard or unspoken. And I particularly am a part of some groups. I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I am a woman that's dealt with gender-based violence. And so I think that those groups in particular, obviously, like I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about all things DEI, but those groups in particular, I really try to focus on and talk about.
How do you plan to recognize your inherent biases?
Yeah, so again, kind of like what Caitlin said, we all have them. I'm a sociology major. I've taken a lot of sociology and psychology classes where I've been taught to recognize my inherent biases and try to combat those the best that I can with logical thinking, logical explanation, critical thinking. And I think that the classes that I've taken in university have really helped me with that. But I also think that my experience being in leadership positions, being in clubs, and just being around people often has helped kind of broaden my horizons and just learn to listen to people and understand other people's experiences. And I think that's really helped me.
How do you plan to balance ASCSU, school, and outside work if that's applicable?
Yeah, so I do work at the Stanley Hotel as a ghost tour guide. The good thing is that will end December, so it's a little busy right now. But I'm off of that in December, which means that I can put a lot of time into ASCSU. I'm also somebody that really thrives when they're busy. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I feel very accomplished when I have things to do all the time. And it's not that I don't have time for all of those things. I absolutely do, but I also just kind of like being
just working all the time and getting things done. And I think that's where I thrive most. And so I'm really happy to have this position, and I'm excited to put time into it.
And finally, what are your goals for this position?
So this is my first time in anything ASCSU related, so I'm really excited to generally learn more about this organization and just to work with my fellow justices and talk about things that we're passionate about. I haven't quite decided. I know we do, I don't know, like passion projects. I haven't quite decided what mine's going to be. I have a few ideas that I'm really excited to do some further research on, really excited to implement things in. So I'm excited to work with everybody and just get everybody else's input since I am fairly new.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for answering my questions. I look better.
Thanks for Senator Wilson.
So sorry, I ran to the bathroom and I got locked out. So sorry if I repeat anything that's been already asked. As Associate Justice, how do you plan to maintain confidentiality?
So I have had to be confidential in a lot of positions before. I'm part of many clubs, some leadership positions, some just as a member of a club. And I've heard a lot of things. And I think that it's important to just, when things are confidential, to kind of just do some self-reflection there, realize that, if you like to chat, that's okay, but chatting about other people's business is not okay. And I have had to really uphold confidentiality. I've had to learn how to be confidential. It actually didn't come naturally to me, but I've had to learn it through my college experience. And I think it's helped me a lot grow as a person, grow in my college career and in all of the organizations that I'm a part of. And so confidentiality is really important to me.
So you mentioned that you're quite involved. Do you foresee any conflicts of interest happening through that?
I don't. My passion project that I'm thinking about doing is related to fraternity and sorority life, but I don't see, there's still students at CSU. I think that it's important to address a lot of problems that are going on in fraternity and sorority life. And that's just one of the, I don't know if that's for sure going to be like my passion project or anything. We'll see if my further research kind of leads to that. But that's and then the other ones, I'm also part of Bug Club with Caitlin. So I don't see that as a conflict of interest either. But I'm not seeing any at all.
Awesome, thank you. I yield my time.
Yeah, next we have Chair Kelly.
A motion to exhaust the speakers list.
There's been a motion to exhaust. So I can ask Chair Kelly to amend.
Yeah, whoever wants to be put on can amend it.
Is there anyone else who would like to be on the speakers list? You are already on the speakers list. Associate Camber, would you like to be on the speakers list? Is there anyone else who would like to be on the speakers list at this time? Seeing none, all in favor of exhausting the speakers list, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Next, we have Senator Visser.
Regarding your time as a Stanley Hotel ghost tour person, have you been in rooms 217 and 237?
I have been in room 217. They were cleaning and I snuck in to see what all the big deal was. It's just like all the other hotel rooms, unfortunately. And we do not have a room 237 because, don't worry, I'll tell you why. Because the Stanley or the Shining movie wasn't filmed at the Stanley Hotel. And so it was just inspired by the Shining book written by Stephen King. He stayed in room 217, the Timberline Lodge, where they filmed the Shining movie. They had a room 217. They didn't want any bad juju attached to their room 217. So they had the production crew change it to room 237. And that's why everybody thinks that there's a room 237, but it was always room 217. And that's really related to this.
Senator Visser, do you yield your time?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I do yield my time. I give it up.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Johnson.
You really just sparked my interest with FSL. What sorority and what's the division? Also, if you don't want to answer that, we can talk about it afterwards.
No, you're fine. I'll give you like a quick one right now. I'm part of Kappa Alpha Theta right now. I Have been a part of it since my freshman year, and I'm a third year right now. I have a leadership position in that sorority, which has kind of given me a lot of insight into the inner workings of a sorority, how to keep it going. The issues that we deal with day to day are quite abundant as well. So I also think that it has gotten pretty detached from like student life in general. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing yet. Again, I'll do some more research. I don't know a ton about kind of the relationship between fraternity and sorority life and just general students. But I do think it's very interesting, and I think it's something that I want to research more, as I know there's a ton of stigma behind it. I don't know if there's as much at CSU where there would be in like Alabama or something like that. But I do think it's really interesting to me, and I'd love to do more research about it. And I don't know, yeah, I haven't done a ton, but I'd love to learn more.
Awesome, thank you. I'm just also a part of fraternity and sorority life, so that's why I was curious. I yield my time.
Thank you. Last week, Associate Camberg.
You should have asked this of Caitlin as well, but do you feel that you can know when it is appropriate to recuse yourself? And can you give us an example to show us that you know when it's a good time or appropriate time to recuse yourself?
Yeah, so with I serve on the Joint Judicial Board right now, which is, if you guys didn't know, you probably do know. But it's basically this, but like smaller scale for fraternity and sorority life cases. And there's been it's a really small group of people that are in fraternity and sorority life. So there's been a few cases where I had a personal connection with like the president of an organization. And it wasn't necessarily that I needed to recuse myself according to the guidelines. Like just because you know a person doesn't mean you have to. But I didn't feel comfortable serving on the board for that particular case. Asked my advisor for the Joint Judicial Board if that was okay, and they said absolutely. And so that's an instance where I have recused myself personally. So I'm definitely more than comfortable doing that if needed. And I do think I know when it's appropriate, when it's inappropriate to do so.
I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move to discussion debate. So I'll ask you to step outside. We'll open up a series of discussion and debate with the first raised placard. Senator Johnson.
I think she's a great candidate. Speaking as someone in FSL, keeping confidentiality, you learn a lot about how to do that, especially when you're in a sorority, because it's really easy to run your mouth. And the fact that she doesn't is incredibly impressive. And I think speaks to her ability to maintain professionality and to be a good DEI person. So I think she can perform her duties amazingly. And yeah, I yield.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to contribute? Seeing none, we're going to move to a period of voting. Microphone, please.
Sorry. I move to vote through the method of unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to this motion?
Dissent.
We're going to go with just voice vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Seeing none, this candidate is ratified.
Back over here.
Then I state your name.
Briar McCoy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. I did that without looking at my notes, by the way.
Next, we're going to move on to new business, since there is no old business, which is Bill 5309, changing the Women's Caucus. I apologize, I didn't put the full name, but I think it would have taken the page.
Point of privilege, can you zoom in a little bit? Thank you.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, super slay. Good evening to y'all. I hope y'all doing well. Quick introductions out of the way. My name is Sammy Trout. I use the he, him, his series pronouns, and I am an associate senator for Student Disability Center, as well as chair of the Accessibility Caucus.
And my name, hang on, and my name is Adeline Schumer. I use the she series of pronouns. I am the senator for the Adult Learner and Veteran Services, and I was also last year's Women's Caucus.
So really quickly, I want to go over just really quickly a little bit of context about me. And one of my priorities within this last year of ASCSU is to help ensure continuity and streamlining of previous projects that would have been forgotten about. And this bill helps encapsulate that priority. Simply put, this bill would rebrand the Women's Caucus into the Women in Social Justice Caucus and would give the caucus the job of overseeing the Social Justice Library. Raise your hand if you know what the Social Justice Library is.
Oh, we actually have some people.
Fantastic.
Let's go.
I could show y'all later, but if you go in like the back of the office where I think it's the health department, it's across the way from the Supreme Court office, is that bookcase. That cute little thing is a Social Justice Library. It was established in during the 50th Senate, so a long time ago, and basically to showcase books with authors related to BIPOC identities, LGBTQ identities, etc. But it hasn't really gotten a whole lot of love recently. What was initially meant to be overseen by multiple entities within ASCSU has unfortunately fallen more onto the shoulders of individual members. By adding this responsibility to the caucus, not only will it ensure the longevity of the library, but also give the caucus something to do. What I found in my many years here of being here is that if you make a caucus just to have a caucus, it doesn't really do a lot. It kind of just sits there and kind of just vibes. Whereas if you have a caucus with a goal and objective and something that keeps folks coming in, you're gonna have that engagement piece that caucuses are intended for. I lost my train of thought in my thing. Okay, super slide. Before I conclude my opening bit, I'd like to note that if folks want to read the founding bills of the Women's Caucus and the founding bills of the Social Justice Library, those bills are linked at the bottom of this bill under resources. If we could scroll down there really quick. It'll be under the signature. Oh, there we go. So Bill 4726 established the Women's Caucus as a permanent entity. We referenced the change of the D&I caucus to the DI Affairs Committee, so I linked that bill, as well as Bill 5027, which formed the library, just so folks have that historical context and kind of know what's going on. And I will yield to the incredible Senator Schumer if she has any things she'd like to add.
Yeah, so last year I took on the great role of being part of Senate leadership, and I was the chair for Women's Caucus. And one thing that's always been historically hard is getting attendance from students outside of ASCSU. And no matter how many people I talked to, no matter what class I was in,
just talking about trying to get recruitment and people to show up to meetings and be kind of interested in this space is historically difficult. And that is kind of shown in past chairs as well. And so Sammy and I really started brainstorming ideas to start pushing this caucus forward and really giving them a sense of purpose and kind of establishing more of not a duty, but kind of like a purpose or some type of like job to not only hold an hour-long meeting or however long they see fit, but also to do something on their side time that they don't have someone that's meeting with them. So yeah, please read over this if you have not. It's a great piece of legislation and we are really looking forward to moving this forward and hope that you guys like it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're willing to open up Q&A if folks are ready for Q&A.
Anyone who'd like to ask a question at this time? Senator Huizenga.
I think our main question is, why is the Women's Caucus the most appropriate for this specific library and the overseeing of that?
So the big reason, one of two reasons. One, it was to help the Women's Caucus, again, kind of get on that purpose idea, but also there's been a lot of caucuses established in the last couple of years, and I didn't want to establish an entirely new caucus for something the current caucus could easily take on with their current job duties and what they have been doing. Because we could have just made a social justice library caucus, but then that could still leave, future women's caucuses not, having a hard time. I know the current women's caucus chair is doing a lot of outreach and doing a lot of that, and I know she's done incredible within that role so far. But in previous years that I've been here, they have been less successful in getting folks to come, even on projects that they are super passionate on. I think the caucus can take on. For whatever reason, they just don't pick up steam. And so this is something that can be consistent and something that they can really form in their own way. And if you have anything you want to add on?
Yeah, so the Women's Caucus was actually founded, and this is kind of their project statement that is also in this resolution here. And Women's Caucus was founded to foster a sense of community and empowerment amongst women and identifying servant leaders involved in all branches of Associated Students of Colorado State University, excuse me. And I think that that has a little bit of social justice written with it. And as a previous Women's Caucus, I really try to reach out and be that person that somebody could come to and talk to me, and we could talk about legislation, we could talk about what's going on in their life and resources that I could give to them. And so I think that this is a great opportunity to keep this caucus moving forward so that it's just not dissolved. And I think that social justice is a kind of a good segue into that, I think. So if that answers your question.
A bit of information as well. The Women's Caucus is open to all gender identities, and that's sort of a way it's evolved to be more inclusive and kind of take on a little more of that social justice piece.
Are you? Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask a question this time? Sure, Taylor.
You mentioned a little bit about funding in the bill. Just kind of, I guess, what would be the source of that funding? Who would be funding that?
Yeah, so the source of the funding, which just to clarify, this bill specifically does not fund anything, but does let the caucus know that, they have avenues to approach how they want to fund it. And it'd be funding things such as funding the books, funding the upkeep. If there are, books that are taken in and then are stolen or not stolen, but, not returned, funding for those to come back. And just other upkeep that the caucus believes that they would need for that. That's something that I know I'll be chatting with the caucus as this gets fully established, kind of figuring out what that budget looks like, and figuring out, is it a budget line item in the Senate, or not Senate discretionary, but within the ASCSU budget that they have this funding, or is it something that they come at the end of each semester and saying, these were the books that were requested, can we get
X amount of dollars to fund for these books. We're not entirely sure what that looks like yet. Even when I met with Women's Caucus, they weren't entirely sure how they wanted to proceed with that. Also with a lot of them being new members and still kind of figuring out their ways around this space, wanting to make sure that they're doing things right.
Thank you.
Next, we have Senator Davis.
I don't know if you like already talked about this and maybe I missed it, but would this change the Women's Caucus purpose to be primarily about the social justice library, or does it leave it slightly open for like other issues to come in?
Yeah, so it does leave it open for the caucus to take on additional responsibilities. If I could, do you have I think I do have it specifically listed somewhere. I'm just gonna have to find it. There we go. The last whereas clause on this bill reads, quote, not only would the name change allow it to be more flexible on what projects it can work on, given the jurisdiction of the library would give the caucus a new sense of self and purpose. So it would be able to take on whichever other responsibilities it would need. It would just have that additional administrative task over things, but it doesn't, that's not the sole purpose that the caucus would take on.
Thank you. Sure. I'm just gonna give it a second. Is there anyone else who has a question at this time? Chair Frisky.
Okay, hi guys. And I'm super sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. She's being really loud right now. But I just wanted to say really quick that like this, the Women's Caucus is all behind this. I think as the chair going into this, social justice was a huge thing that I was passionate about bringing to the Women's Caucus. So this fits right in. We've already had discussions about this, and so we're in full support. And also personally, like I'm a huge book nerd, probably not surprising, but I absolutely love books that are banned, and we talked about adding some banned books and adding different authors of different identities, and so I'm super pumped about this, and I think that this is something that fits really well. So I yield my time, and thank you.
Thank you. Last week, Senator Huizenga.
You said there was a bunch of new members for the Women's Caucus. Can you, my first question is how many like new members are there for the Women's Caucus?
So when I was there, the newer members of, when I mean newer members of caucus, I mean like new members to ASCSU, to my understanding of it. So not like new members to the caucus, I mean like new members to the organization as a whole. It was my understanding it was a majority of them. I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate number, but it was a majority of them that were like, what are all these?
Right, so it would stand to consider maybe a little bit of extra time to see if we had more initiatives, if we have so many new members. I guess that's already a question for the statement, but yeah.
That definitely could be a way to proceed on that. I think it's something that the Women's Caucus, it's a task that they are excited to take on, and not only with the additional job duties, but then also the title change. I know that's something that that was one of the first meetings I had with them, and like, I don't want to step on y'all's toes, like making that very abundantly clear at the very beginning. This is a potential thing for y'all to do, and they took that with absolute open arms. So this was definitely in collaboration with the Women's Caucus, not to just add more stuff on without their consent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kimberly, did you speak for maybe you did, yeah. Senator Wilson.
I just wanted to ask you really quick, why did you choose Women's Caucus and not a committee?
Because caucuses, the really cool thing about caucuses is that they are really meant to get members, not just within ASCSU, but members outside of the ASCSU organization to be involved. Whereas like committees, yeah, you can have those folks, but it's really more legislation work. You're working on legislation, folks who aren't really involved in the ASCSU don't really care. And if they do really are excited about it, they typically join on as a member of ASCSU in some capacity anyway. With Women's Caucus, it's more, they can be more goal focused and really, again, focus on their own projects, but also encourages members outside of ASCSU to join on. And I know that's a big priority for me as a caucus chair and for Chair Fiske as a caucus chair, is to get more outside ASCSU members. And we've been really successful on that, if I may add for the record. I hope that answers your question.
Does. And then really quick, just a point of clarification, every single person at the Women's Caucus meeting that you presented this bill either sponsored or endorsed it, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Chair Taylor.
Whose job description would this be under now? Like keeping the live well, would that be now?
So that would fall, that. That's so loud. My phone shouldn't have that feature. Anyway, phone's being very rude. I apologize for that. So it would fall within the rules of, to my understanding, the Senate bylaws. I think that's where caucus is. Yeah. I believe it'd be on the Senate, like Senate bylaws is where the overall jurisdiction of it would be. But then it'd be really up to the caucus itself to really figure out how exactly the administration works. Do they have a person within that position who directly oversees that? Is that the chair's responsibility? Is it the vice chair? Do they have somebody for the accessibility aspect of that, which is something else that I talked to them about? So it's really like the main go-to person really is determined on how the caucus proceeds with their bylaws and their rules, which I know is something that they'll be working on shortly. But it's really up to freedom on their part, if that answers your question.
So then couldn't the caucus just vote to kind of take that task on now without having a bill that the Senate votes on?
They could. This was more changing bylaws because it's my understanding that Women's Caucus is in the bylaws. So for them to take on the social justice aspect of it, which again, something that they do want to do, it does require a bylaws change because it requires a change to the bylaws and then a change to the Senate rules.
So I guess what exactly is that change, and why is that not something that the caucus could just choose to take on by themselves?
That's such a beautiful question. That's cool. I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that. I thought I had an answer, but my answer isn't as fully thought as I thought it was. If that goes against folks' thoughts, but I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Thank you. I lose my time.
I have Chair Kelly next.
Motion previous question.
Second.
Did everyone know previous questions in this room? Alrighty, so it's a little different than exhausting the speakers. Those previous questions mean we kind of stopped the entire question and answer period. And we just moved this bill into committee where you can also still talk and have those conversations. So all those in favor of moving to previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? This bill will be sent to internal DEI. I think that's it, because even though you do mention funding, there isn't any allocation of money.
Correct.
All right, I'll go to those two committees.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Oh, thanks, y'all.
With that, we have ending. Yes, Chairman Onti.
Can I motion to use beginning roll call as ending roll call and allow people who showed up then to be added to roll call?
I was gonna say you're gonna. All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We will use beginning roll calls, ending roll calls. So any committee reports? Do we want me to go in line? Okay, Taylor.
Come to committee.
Have a bill.
Chairman Auntie.
Come to committee. Yeah, you might get featured on the Instagram.
I'm gonna touch on something I said last week. I'm gonna touch on something I said last week. We aren't gonna count caucuses as a committee hour, but we are gonna count them as an office hour, which you need to complete 5 office hours as a senator and 3 as an associate.
Every week or every month?
Week. So please check your job descriptions, everybody. Any other chairs who wish to say something at this time of committees? Now caucus reports. Would the women's caucus chair like to say anything? Seeing none, we're gonna move to accessibility caucus.
That's so wild. Anyway,
I went in the order.
Continue coming to Accessibility Caucus. Again, we will meet briefly in the conference room. If you have friends who want to come and help us do door buttons, that'd be super, super cool. That's all I have.
Thank you. Senator Kirk, do you have something to say?
I'm gonna ask you later, and I'm just gonna let this. Real.
Sounds-
I'll come to you later. Yeah, redundancy, real.